Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fifth of our 6-week health and wellness webinars from the ICBE Aviation SkillNet. Today, our presenters are once again high performance and executive coaches Jason Kenny and Declan Dore from KD Corporate Wellness. Jason is a fitness and nutrition specialist, sports psychology coach, and has a degree in training and education. He's an active competitor, having represented Ireland abroad, winning several world, European, and Irish titles. He is also a martial arts instructor with over 30 years' experience. Declan is an inspirational coach and trainer, having recovered from a life-threatening brain injury where he was told he would possibly never walk, talk, or get the use of his face back. Declan now teaches tools for mental wellness to survive and thrive in both your personal and working lives. Today's topic area is mindfulness, and Jason and Declan will share how we can increase our ability to cope with everyday demands by developing skills to promote greater appreciation and help with grounding ourselves. Sometimes to speed up, we need to slow down. The ground rules for today: Jason and Declan will once again present for approximately 20 minutes, followed by a 10-minute Q&A. Everyone is muted, but please submit any questions or comments you have on the chat function, and we'll call those out at the end of the presentation. And without further delay, I'll hand you over to Jason and Declan. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, John. Appreciate it, and I just absolutely love hearing other people saying that quote. Sometimes in order to speed up, you've got to slow down, and I think it's very relevant to this training this morning. And, you know, welcome everyone, and thank you all again for being here. And we've got 1 week to go, and this is one topic we absolutely love to discuss with people is mindfulness. And I suppose straight off the bat, we'll put a question, a poll there. You might put it up there on, about do you meditate? So anybody here who's on this Zoom, we'd love to know, have you ever done meditation before? And it's a simple yes or a no question. And we're going to go a little bit into that, because meditation, some people think, is just sitting in a mountain and crossing the eyes and, closing the eyes and crossing the hands, but there's a lot more to it than that. So we'll see here now before we get going.
Interesting.
Oh, very good. 79% say yes, they've meditated, and 21% said no, they don't meditate. Great, thank you very much for that.
Brilliant, yeah. It's not, I suppose sometimes it can be seen as a bit of a taboo area for people. They don't like to get into it when they talk about meditation and things like that. But you know what, sometimes as well, there's a little bit of a cloudiness when it comes to what meditation is and what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is kind of almost, in a lot of respects, is a link between it. But at the same time, meditation on its own is one of those areas that it's almost clearing the body. What the mindfulness is looking at stuff that's more in I suppose it's clouded in the brain, and what we're trying to do with the meditation then is to start connecting with the actual body itself and repair and recover. So mindfulness in a lot of respects is just paying attention to those thoughts and to be present in that moment. And it stems back, I suppose, back into kind of Buddhist philosophy, and almost through that same process that would have been existing many, many years ago in the Oriental parts of the world. So it's something that became kind of very modernized with ourselves in the Western world, and now it's become one of the main and key areas for people to get into and to delve further into stuff. So,
and there's a man called John Kabat-Zinn is his name. He'd be through MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction. And he's been teaching it in Milford Hospice, actually, here in Limerick, which would be a cancer place. And he's done a lot of, he hasn't trained it in there, but he has trainers that have been in there doing training with the nurses and the staff and the patients around mindfulness. And it's a very, very powerful process. There's so much more to it than just, some people think it's meditation. And here's four examples. Like mindfulness, the first thing is directing our attention to our experience as it unfolds. So whatever might be going on for you, it's directing your attention and your awareness to what is that's going on around for you. And the second thing is turns us to respond skillfully to whatever is happening, good or bad. So whatever might be happening for you, good or bad, it's to look at it and see what way you are responding to it.
Yeah, I suppose if you think about what happened with the emotional intelligence conversation, a lot of it's linking. You can see there's an awful crossover between the two, which is pretty good in a lot of respects. So it gives us an opportunity to almost press that pause button and pull ourselves back slightly. And if you look at number 3, there, improves our thought process, feelings, and concerns for others. So that's where almost your EQ comes in, and that leadership skill, and you as an individual get an opportunity to step back, and it helps us to kind of relax ourselves, to stay calmer, and to give ourselves that bit more of a grounding. So I think we might just look at the second poll on, if that's okay. It'd be great if you could stick it in there.
And these are the 4 areas we're going to be covering as well today. So, we're going to be looking at the physical, the food, there's a couple of different things we're going to be looking at. But the question that we have here for you is, where do you feel that you may fall down the most? Would it be your physical health? Would it be your diet, your nutrition? Would it be your relationships, whether it could be your family, your friends, your work? Or would it be mentally your thought process? So out of those 4, which do you feel you might be falling down on the most?
Just give it a few more minutes, because it's quite varied.
Yeah.
Just give it 3 more seconds.
Yeah.
There's actually, there's only
Maybe
one serious winner.
Sorry to cut across you. Maybe we should have given a couple of options on that.
I'll share with you now.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, well, you know what? That's mentally taught, I think is.
So you can see physical health is 11%, the diet and nutrition is 22%, relationships, family, work, and friends is 28%, and mentally the thoughts is 39%. Yeah. I'm thinking the thoughts is definitely a very, very big one.
Yeah, and I suppose when you look at it's obviously, it's like your CPU, really, isn't it? I mean, everything starts there, and this is how we visualize things, how we see things, and how we process that, and how we interpret it. And while someone might say something to me in terms, Declan might see it as an act of aggression. I might just see it as just someone having a bit of banter. And that's something we need to be very, very cognizant of. So if you just look at the 4 areas for a few seconds here. So number 1, you have the physical. So understanding, I suppose, how your body is, how you feel, how it is that you're feeling inside, and being able to connect to that. So you're connecting almost the mind through those feelings. We have a tendency to disconnect ourselves completely and just potter on. And it's only when something raises its head that we suddenly realize that there's an issue there. So number 2 then, obviously the food. The reason why we chose this one, now there's a lot of areas to go into. These are just 4 areas that we felt were prevalent to today, and because I suppose of the stuff we've done over the last few weeks. But obviously the food, we have a tendency just to eat and go. So there's no thought process in it. We don't appreciate the food that's going into our system. We don't appreciate how we eat or what we eat. And, there's like a ritual, like I don't look at the phone, or you enjoy your food, and it's a whole process with your food, rather than just simply being distracted and looking at everything else that's going on around you.
And the 3rd and 4th one is relationships and thoughts. And we're going to cover each one of them now in more depth as we go through the next few slides.
Okay.
Lads, just before you go on, you might maybe just turn off your video just for a minute or 2, just because it's staggering a tiny little bit occasionally.
Yeah. Stop video. Yeah, is that okay?
That's fine. We're just going to, just in case that's impacting on the broadband and sound quality.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, so we'll just go a little bit deeper now into each one of the 4 that we just discussed there. So our physical connection. So the physical connection is a very, very powerful one, especially when it comes to, how you are experiencing, what's going on for you. So have a think about it for just a second there. Your physical connection, and this is something that Jason is very, very big into. I know when it comes to the exercise side of things, you might actually touch on that, because I think it would be better coming from you, from your background.
Yeah, I suppose I like this in particular, and I'm very, very cognizant of it again. And even when exercising, it's a case of connecting almost your brain to the muscle. And understanding what's happening and feeling it rather than just simply going through the motions. We have a tendency to do it quite a lot in life. I mean, how many times have you gone to work, come home, and don't even remember the journey along the way? You know, we do it all the time. You miss so many things, or you sit in the passenger seat and suddenly you're seeing all this amazing stuff that you never saw before. For us, for me and myself and Declan in particular, we really try our best to connect with the body, to make it that bit extra, I suppose, not just simply getting the physical, but you're also getting the whole senses. Everything is heightened and the response is incredible within the body. So you can see here, just making the connection between mind and body can improve your experience tenfold, and it also forces us to slow down, which is exactly what the point is, so that when you're doing the exercise, you're actually doing it. If you're out there physically walking, you're actually in connection with it. You know, I mean, this is something that's been done with many different teams across the world. I know even we attended one there not so long back, and the guy had worked at Munster Rugby, doing stuff around getting out, just reconnecting and just listening to the chorus of the birds as you're doing it, but just listening to your own breath and so on and so forth. So scientists have discovered that mindfulness techniques help improve physical health in a number of ways. Mindfulness can help relieve stress, treat heart disease, lower blood pressure, reduce chronic pain, improve sleep, and alleviate gastrointestinal difficulties. So you can see there, I mean, it's not something that's just willy-nilly. It has been proven.
And just one thing before we move on to the next one is just try this out if you're exercising if it's today you're exercising. Just be very aware of your movements as you exercise. Focus on what you're actually working on. If you're working on a particular muscle, it could be doing chest exercise, arms, legs, whatever it might be. Focus in on the actual muscle itself. And I learned this from Jason. It's focusing in on the muscle, and it's very, very powerful. And you actually get really, really powerful results as doing, you know, mindful exercise. It's very, very powerful stuff. So mindful eating is the next one. So mindful eating is a technique that helps you gain control over your eating habits. It has been shown to promote weight loss, reduce binge eating, and help you feel better. So it's just something to be aware of as well. When you're eating, are you just, you know, like stuffing it into your mouth so you can get it in quick and fast and move on to the next, you know, project? I know for me that often, and still to this day, sometimes happens to me. But when it happens to me, I'm aware of it now, and I'm like, okay, Dick, stop, slow down, stop stuffing your face, and start enjoying what I'm actually eating. So it's something just to be aware of.
Yeah, so look, we all do it. We're all on the go at the best of times, and it goes back again to even the nutrition talk we did last week. It's all about just slowing down, giving yourself a few minutes to kind of prepare, plan yourself, and just actually enjoy it. Sit around the table with family. I mean, how often do we sit at different points of the house, or we come in and, you know, we grab something out of the microwave and we don't sit together as a family? And it's something that we need to start doing more, because you can't start binge eating, you start cravings, you're not allowing your body an opportunity or a chance to move on and appreciate the good quality foods that you're having.
So our relationships, this is obviously a very, very big part of this. And mindfulness encourages you to respond to your experiences rather than react to thoughts. A reaction is automatic and gives you no choice. A response is a deliberate and considered action. So think about it. Are you reactive or are you responsive when it comes to your relationships? So whatever could be going on for you especially now with us all, the majority of people are working from home, and you're spending a lot of time now with people in your family that you probably haven't spent as much time ever, you know, and it's just a matter of looking, are you reactive, are you responsive in that relationship?
Yeah, it creates that bit of compassion and empathy, I suppose, as well. And I know Brendan Bouchard, it's a guy, obviously, we both follow fantastic at it. And he always talks about, I suppose, you know, setting that intention. So you release all that tension that's in you, and then you set the intention. So when you arrive home in the evening time or whenever it is, you know, ask yourself that question, what's my intention here? And it doesn't matter, this can be in work relationships as well. You've got to ask yourself, what are your intentions? So set it so that you understand that when you go in there that you're going to have a particular reason for being there. What's my role? What am I to do? It's quite easy to be reactive. We all are at the best of times. But to be responsive, mindfulness asks us to step back, have a think about it, and be responsive and look at what the outcome could possibly be. So you're almost being mindful, and then you're almost manifesting, if that makes sense. So release the tension and set your intention.
Yes, so our thoughts. So that was the biggest one in our poll at the second poll we had there. So the aim of mindfulness is not quieting the mind or attempting to achieve a state of internal calm. The goal is simply aim to pay attention to the present moment without judgment. So that's a big thing when it comes to mindfulness, is to actually be aware of you're not actually trying to be in a state of Zen where you're meditating all the time. Mindfulness is just having an awareness. And this quote here we think is brilliant. You need to learn to select your thoughts just the same way you select your clothes every day. So if you think about that, it's trying to be very aware of what's going on in your thought process. Because if let's say you're after getting off a heavy call with someone, or you're after having a discussion with somebody on the phone or on Zoom or whatever it might be, and it's after having an advert reaction to you. So you're actually after feeling negative, and then you get off the call and you take that out actually in the person who's closest to you. So it's just to be aware of that. And if you can create that awareness, then you can do something about it. Like one thing I know I do all the time is whenever I get off a heavy call, or it could be a tough meeting or whatever it might be, before I go on and meet my partner, I'll always take a minute to just relax, take a breath, release whatever tension might be going on for me. So I breathe in and I release what might be going on for me. And then I set the intention of, why am I going in here? What is the purpose of me going in and having this chat with my partner? I set an intention. So clearly then when I'm going in, I've let go of what's gone on in the past, and I'm going in then in the present moment. So when I'm with my lady, I'm very present when I'm with her, and she knows that.
Yeah, so another great way of doing it, and something we harp on an awful lot about, is while mindfulness is great in getting you out of that situation in the moment you're in, because you've been training yourself, because it's something that we need to do, and you can see here in this slide, it's all about doing it over and over and over again. It's practice and practice and practice. So it's something that, it's like we spoke about pressing the pause button, you visualize it. If you don't practice, put it into practice, then when the situation arises, you're not going to be quite good at it. So by doing this, it'll be almost reactive in a lot of respects, but in a positive way. But journaling is one of the things that we love to do. If sometimes your mind is clouded and you have a lot of stuff going on and you're finding it difficult to move thoughts and move things around, put it on a piece of paper, write it down, have a diary that you might have, or a little notebook that is yours as personal. And the greatest thing you can do in the world if you have an issue with something is to write it on a piece of paper, either complain to yourself or complain to that person. They never need to see it, no one ever needs to see it. Take it, crumple it up and fire it away, or set it alight, or do whatever. And it's almost physically getting rid of those negative thoughts, those negative feelings. It's a lovely way of just putting pen to paper and getting those creative juices moving again. So remember, press the pause button. It was one of those things that we harped on about. And if you can visually even look at this, and if it's something that helps you going forward, and you can remember that pause button on this screen, it will help you that when you get into a situation that you can just press the pause. So we're going to jump into some solutions.
So there's more than one way to practice mindfulness, but the goal of any mindfulness technique is to achieve a state of alert, focused relaxation by deliberately paying attention to your thoughts and sensations without judgment. This allows the mind to refocus on the present moment.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through 4 little steps here to take. So these are little action steps to take before we wrap up. And if you can actually see, it says stop. It says S-T-O-P, stop. So the first one is set the intention. So here on the far left, how would you like things to work out? How would you like to feel? So that's very, very important. So it's like a visualization technique actually, where you're actually sitting with yourself, wherever it might be, and you're actually setting an intention of what it is you want the outcome to be. Now, it might not always work out, but if you can set the intention, it normally will manifest itself.
Yeah, so again, as Declan said there, you need to set that intention, you decide what you're going to do. And this is a great analogy. You're just simply stop. So set the feel that, be that emotion, and feel how your body is responding to it. Opportunity to respond, so it gives you an opportunity to be responsive as opposed to reactive. So it gives you a chance to make the right choices, and then to be present, to enjoy the connection between you and your mind, and to be present with your thoughts and find a solution. So it's a very powerful one. We use it all the time, and I tell you, if anything you take away from today, take this slide. It's really, really a good one.
So steps to success, body sensation, so meditate, you've got emotions, and then gently redirect. So notice subtle body sensations such as an itch or tingling without judgment, and let them pass. Notice each part of your body in succession from head to toe. So when you're meditating or relaxing, it's not even about just sitting there and trying not to let the thoughts come in. The key component I find personally, if I sit down to do any bit of meditation, is I'll always set, again, I always come back to the intention. What's the purpose of this meditation? It could be just to relax, or it could be that I want to focus on one thing and get a solution for it. So there could be a problem going on in my life. So what I do is I sit down, I always put a blank piece of paper in front of me. I sit there and then I ask myself empowering questions like, okay, so this issue is happening for me right now. Where's the solution? So I breathe in, I release what might be going on for you, and then I wait for answers to drop into my mind. And when those answers come in, I'll either open my eyes and start writing, or I'll question it more and I'll go into it more, I'll go into it deeper. So it's a very, very powerful way to either release stuff that could be going on for you, or to get solutions to problems that might be happening.
Yeah, so just on that as well, another lovely little thing just to keep in mind is meditation or meditation through movement. So just because you don't have that opportunity to sit down or find a quiet corner and the perfect spot, you can actually do it through a particular movement. And when you walk, you start to be appreciative of the body, how it's working, literally start to connect. And I do this literally from the ground always up into my head, and I find it fascinating how you just literally disengage from all those negative feelings and thoughts. So it's a nice little way of doing it, and that can be done through sport, it can be done through anything that you're doing, and it's a nice way of saying that I can meditate, but it doesn't necessarily have to go back to the traditional with the legs crossed, hands on the knees and the eyes closed. You don't need that, or the lovely scents and the wonderful music and banging out some chantra or whatever it is. You don't need all that. You can do it quietly in your own mind. So it's all about quietening the mind, really. And so the emotional side of things as well. So we did this as well, where you name your emotions, your joy, your fear, your anger, frustration. Name them and ask yourself the question, what good are you to me right now? How can I use this? When can I use this? You know, it's really, really important to try and identify those and to gently redirect them. If the mind starts to wander off, or you start to daydream, or you find those critical thoughts coming into your mind, and you're feeling a little negative, just again stop, pause, and try and redirect it, and find out why you're having that feeling right now. And it's a great way of doing it.
Like we have, if you think about it, we have over 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So no matter how good you are at trying to relax, your mind is always going to be racing and running. So it's like even Yoda wouldn't be able to relax and quieten his mind. So it's try not to beat yourself up.
Yeah.
It's the key here is whatever might be going on for you, just come back to those 4 things we just stop. Set the intention is the key component before you go into a meditation. If you go into meditation really, really busy-minded, it can be very, very difficult to even slow yourself down. So it's back to the breath. Breathe in, release what might be going on for you, set an intention. And the intention could be I just want to relax. or the intention could be, I have a lot of anger or frustration or tension in my body at the moment. I want to release this out of my system. So that's just a way to look at mindfulness, look at meditation, look at looking after yourself first, because once you look after yourself first, things are a lot easier then to look after and get solutions to whatever might be going on for you.
Yeah, it's all about slowing down and to speed up, as has been said over and over and over again. And we can't harp on enough about that. You really do need to slow it down, take it back a step or two. And in doing so, it allows you to ground yourself. So have a little routine for yourself every day. Get a little morning ritual going. Make that your own special little ritual. We all have ours. You get up in the morning, you sit down, you go outside, take some air, walk around, whatever it is. Do small little things that helps you to start to focus in on that. And a great little trick is that even by brushing your teeth with the opposite hand, take your toothbrush and brush with the left hand if you're right-handed, and it forces you to stop and think about it for a few seconds. And it mightn't be as easy, but try and do certain things, or even wear your watch on the opposite hand, so you automatically, but it will bring you back to say, hey, I'm going to practice a little bit of mindfulness for a few seconds. How am I feeling? How's my thoughts? Where am I going today? And what are my intentions for the rest of the day? So this is Mushin. It's Mind of No Mind. It's one of the areas, I suppose. It's based on Japanese kind of philosophy and the whole process of the martial arts and Zen approach to things. And it's really, if your mind is clouded with all of this information and you engage with someone in the martial arts, we'll say a confrontation, going to be clustered the same, whereas you just go with the flow. So we need to be in a state of flow all the time. Once you break that state of flow, you get distracted and you move off. And we've spoken about that as well, about distractions and so on, and in your mind everything gets fragmented.
So our last slide before we finish up, because there's so much we can cover here, and hopefully you were able to take away, one or two little tips that you can actually apply, because the most important thing is applying something that you've learned. It's not trying to learn everything that we've taught. The key component is to take one thing, apply it in your life to get a result for you. So mindful or mindful. So if you look at that, most people are the left. If the mind is full. So the key is to try and get some bit of time in your day where you can actually empty your mind, go for a walk, take a breath, release whatever could be going on for you, and come back to the breath. Like in all the trainings we've done the last 5 weeks, if you notice the team, everything come back to the breath. Because once you come back to the breath, that's where you can control and release what might be going on for you. So, any final words, Jay?
Yeah, I suppose the most important thing here for us, is to press pause, stop. So think of that slide to stop. So set the intention, release the tension, and then opportunity to respond and just be present with your thoughts, which is exactly what Declan said there. Excuse me. So basically, if you're having all of these emotions and all of these feelings and all of these thoughts, don't try and get rid of them straight away. Try and figure out what's happening and why you're feeling that way, and it'll give you a greater opportunity to be responsive. So,
great. That's it, Owen. Well, it's as much as we can cram in the 20-25 minutes that we have there. So hopefully people will be able to take away some tools and techniques there to use.
Always feel in these sessions that you're trying to get a topic that's so vast and so in depth, and you're trying to scramble them in. But yeah, it leaves room for so much more.
Great, thanks very much, Jason. Do you want to turn on your camera there again?
Yeah.
We're not trying to drive all the slides. Just a few very quick questions, and if there's any more, please add them to chat. So one of the issues that people report is that in order to embrace mindfulness and meditation, seems to be this need to be less cynical about it. And if you have any tips or ideas how to be less cynical, so that you can have an open mind for it?
Sorry, we kind of knocked you there. We're trying to get this thing working in the background.
We're trying to get this camera working here on. Sorry, we can't seem to get it working for some reason, whatever's going on.
No problem. Maybe just stop your share as well. It might pop up. So it's just, how can you be less cynical? So people say that it's hard to be mindful when you feel so cynical about it, which makes it a doubly difficult thing to do.
This might sound easy let's say it's easy, but it's not easy, but it's something you've got to try and train yourself. It's when cynical comes up, right? It's like you've got to look at it like you've got two little vices in your mind. You've got the positive vice and the negative vice, and normally the negative vice will overcrowd the positive normal times, especially in times we're in now. But it's trying to reframe everything that goes on for you. So when that cynical voice comes up and tells you can't, or this won't happen, or the world is doomed, or whatever, it's to flip it around. It's to create that. I look at it like a light switch where you switch it on or you switch it off, and you have the choice which one you want to switch on or switch off. And it's to reframe it and go, okay, what's actually good in my life right now? And it could be just one thing. It's not focusing on loads of things. It's focusing on one thing that you're grateful for. And it all comes back to being grateful for one thing. So it's like with everything that's going on now, like we've all been affected some way in this. It's looking at it, what's the one thing I can be grateful to, and reframe it and focus on that. So it's all about coming back and reframing things when you've got the cynical side coming up and looking for solutions rather than focusing on problems. And that's something you've got to keep working on. I mean, I work on it daily. My God, daily. I get things thrown at me, and it's like I could go into a dark hole. And sometimes I do go into the dark hole, but when I'm in the dark hole, I'm always going, I just have this reframe in my mind. It's like an automatic program for me on where I go, something good is going to come from this. Something good is going to come from this. And I'd done this when I was in hospital and I was told I'll probably never get walk, talk, or get my face back. I just had that automatic program where I go, something good's going to come from this. Something good's going to come from this. So that hopefully that answers it.
Yeah, no, I think it's to accept that it's something you have to work at rather than you do once and suddenly you're mindful for the rest of your life. It's like exercise.
You're constantly working on it. It's a daily thing. It's a daily thing.
In martial arts, we have a system called Dore, where it's called multiple attack, where you have different people coming at you at once. It's very much a battlefield approach. You can't just stand and go toe-to-toe with one guy and have 1,000 other guys and coming running at you with swords or guns or whatever it is in back in the day, I suppose. But to be able to see one as it comes at you, that person, as the individual comes at you, and to deal with that problem, move on to the next, move on to the next, move on to the next, but not sit at that one individual all the time, to constantly move between it. If you want to practice it and put it into practice, again, through a whole meditative movement, is to walk down the street, when we can, of course, and hold a newspaper in your hand or whatever it is you have in your hand, and walk down and walk towards people and watch how you naturally start to evade them and move and go from side to side. Your senses take over. So it's something we can do naturally, but if you're not brought to the attention of it, or it's not within your awareness, then you're not going to be aware of what you're actually doing. So if you can take that and use it, it becomes very powerful.
But can I just, all of this sounds wonderful. I'm sure there's lots of nodding heads on the people on the call, but everyone is time poor. Any sense, if we're caught being very mindful in the Zen state at a computer all day, it's probably not going to be so good. But any sense of how long people should think about, or how much time they should allocate? I know the more the merrier, but if being pragmatic in a working environment, is this 5 minutes after an hour, or is it minutes, or is it how much time should people allocate?
Yes, so for myself, I'm speaking on my behalf, and I'm sure Declan will talk about his way he does it. But for me, it's I get up from the computer after 20 minutes, or I step away from something after 10, 15. shake it all out, take a few deep breaths, and just try and ground myself to see where I'm at in this current moment. And that's how I do it. So it's kind of almost a continual thing all day long. It doesn't switch off. It's not as if I'm going to give it 10 minutes today and leave it at that. I try to make it a part of my process. The minute I get up in the morning, I put my feet on the floor and I'll sit at the edge of the bed for a few seconds. And you can feel the wood on your feet, the floor, and take a deep breath and then stand up. But it's literally just for that split second, you're being mindful of your process and where you are. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's getting a routine on. It's having your own routine, and we all will have our own routines. For me, I do the same thing there as Jason in the morning. Is very important. If you can win your morning, you can normally win your day. So it's, as they all say, but like, it's easier said than done, no, but if you can get into a routine, then you'll start to actually create and feel better about yourself. I'm always getting up in the morning first thing, taking a drink of water, moving my body. This all only takes a minute, 2-3 minutes max. And all I do is do some breathing, release whatever might be going on for me. And then when I get to work, when I'm in front of my computer, I'll put on what's called my ding dong, the power of your ding dong. That was one of our trainings, which is my timer on my phone. I do 45-minute slots. So every 45 minutes, my phone goes on silent. It flips around so I'm not getting distracted. And every 45 minutes, I'm focused. When my ding dong goes off, the timer goes off, that's time for me to move away from my computer, go for a drink of water, take a deep breath. This all only takes 2 or 3 minutes. Sit down and go, okay, where am I now? Okay, I'm still doing this project. Okay, bang, another 45 minutes. So I break my day down into 45-minute slots. And I do.
Key seems to be integrating it into whatever schedule you have, to have it integrated in, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's just make sure it's consistent.
I say work something that's for you, something that'll work for you. Like if you've got kids running and screaming around the place, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that. But it's like, again, it's going back to the trainings we've been doing the last few weeks. It's setting boundaries with certain people and just getting them to respect your boundaries. And the only way you can set up your boundaries is expressing what your boundary is.
But also making life a little bit easy for yourself by kind of planning a small bit ahead if you can. So like Declan says, like even if it's a case of having water in the fridge ready to drink, if it's a case of having your clothes out and ready the night before to go training, if it's a case of just having your food prepped and ready and in the fridge, if it's a case of having your diary and all laid out in front of you so you can see what's coming up and what times you have. All you're doing is you're eliminating some of the chaos and allowing yourself a little bit of a steady state of flow. And as you can see from myself and Declan, just the two of us, Declan does a 45-minute, I'm doing a 20-25-minute slot. So you can see the difference. But as Declan said, it's very important. You need to schedule it into your time. It needs to work for you, and it can't just be something that I tell you to do or Declan tells you to do. But all we can say is that you have to stop and think of that again, that anagram, just stop and see where you're at. Just do a little bit of a check-in with yourself. You'll schedule time for your clients, you'll schedule time for calls, you'll schedule time for meetings. You need to schedule time for yourself. You really, really, truly do.
And the time for yourself could be those blocks, whether it be 20, 45, try not to let it go over an hour that you're sitting in front of a computer screen. I know it's easier said than done, but try your best, because, it does actually have a negative effect in your body and your mind. Mm-hmm. If you're sitting there the whole time, you're behind the computer or you're on calls, without you even knowing it, you're having a negative effect on yourself, and you start to have this negative self-chatter. And the only way to get over the negative self-chatter is you need to remove yourself from the situation. You need to give yourself 2 or 3 minutes, whether it's getting a drink of water, whether it's shaking your body out like the story we talked about, the gazelle before, the lion chasing the gazelle. All these little things, you've got to look at focusing on doing time blocks. Time blocking is key when it comes to looking after yourself.
And we all have that inner critic. We're all very much aware of that. We all doubt ourselves, and no matter how good you've done something, you'll be negative towards yourself. And it's like we spoke about it in self-talk, that that whole imposter syndrome. Like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to get caught out at some stage or another. And it doesn't matter how professional, how much qualifications you have, what university you went to, you always have that self-doubt. And it's not just the normal people on, who are working day in, day out. Or, it's the top-end CEOs, top-end athletes. I've spoken to them, Declan's spoken to them, and they all go through that whole thing going, God, when am I going to get caught out? And
even Bruce Springsteen, the great singer and artist, Bruce Springsteen talked about in an interview before. I was blown away. He said in his interview, he's still waiting to be caught out. He's still waiting to be caught out and he's not a good singer. And he really meant it. Like, a lot of these people, we all have it. We all have this negative self-talk going on in our mind, but it's trying to reframe it. It's acknowledging that it's there and then going, okay, what can I do about this? Where's the solution to this problem, or how can I reframe it?
Okay, great. Time for just one more quick question. It sometimes feels that you're describing kind of the wonder that a child experiences when they experience something for the first time, and we've kind of lost that. And you've given a great example about brushing your teeth with the opposite hand so that you rediscover that. Somebody told me once of just trying to walk in the garden in your bare feet and thinking about what you feel. But just at lunchtime today, what one thing do you think people might do?
Walk in your garden with your bare feet.
The two of us started nodding straight away because we do it.
We do it. Actually, I remember when I was living at home before, I'm out the countryside, and all the neighbours would know you. And I used to get up in the morning pretty early, and I'd be walking in the front lawn barefooted. And I remember the neighbours thinking, this guy is a Looney Tune. And I met some of the neighbours going, Declan, are you okay? We see you there in the morning walking in your bare feet. But it's so powerful, and the science behind it is incredible, because it grounds you and it connects you back to the earth and it recharges your body. So, yeah, definitely, that's one thing for sure on, is to do that. But make sure and do your time blocks. And just go back to your breath and set your intention and help to release what might be going on for you.
I just add to that if I can, apart from Declan out in the garden looking for his shoes, really. I think he left them under a bush somewhere. Is to actually get some cold water and literally put it in your face. It's that shock, that instant shock. I do cold showers. I do it specifically even after a training session because it's phenomenal for inflammation. It's just helps you. The minute you come out of a cold shower and your body starts to come back, you start to feel it naturally. That feeling of my body is starting to respond, but you can physically feel it now. Once you jump in a hot shower, you jump out of the hot shower, yeah, you feel good, but there's nothing like it. But throw some cold water in your face, rub your eyes, and just by doing this with your face, it's such a nice feeling, rubbing the back of your neck. Those small little things helps you to give you some small bit of time as well.
And just one on before we go, because I know, look, we'll
see what happens. We can't shut up now.
Because it's such a powerful topic. But like the key, if someone takes something from this as well, we've loads of stuff there. Again, it comes back to the number one thing that we all talk about for the last few weeks. Go back to your breath and feel what's going on in your body. You could be feeling angry, you could be feeling tense, you could be feeling anxiety, whatever it might be. Come back and feel into whatever that is. And just talk and ask yourself positive questions or empowering questions. What's going on for me now as you do your breathing? What's going on for you? And then you'll get these answers, and then try and release or try and get solutions to whatever might be going on for you.
And also just on the breath thing, just one more thing. I know we're harping on here, but with the breath, think of this for a second. If I said to you, what does it like to feel angry? And just try and bring yourself back to a moment when you felt angry, okay? And then ask yourself, what does it feel like when I'm happy and I'm laughing and I'm full of joy? Then ask yourself the questions, how did I breathe? How does my breathing change? How do I feel? How is my emotion? And sometimes when you set that intention, you actually have to add that emotion to it, that almost that that positive vibe to it. But bring yourself back to a moment you felt angry, you felt maybe envious, you felt frustrated, annoyed, felt happy, glad, loved. When these are all different emotions, but actually try and connect to them and try and connect your breath to them as well. And you'll be surprised that, like, when someone is angry or frustrated, your breaths are shallow, fast and rapid. When you're relaxed and calm, your breaths are deep and you have a completely different look and different feel to the world.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to be responsible for people walking around naked in their gardens if we don't stop now. So, but only barefoot. That's all we said. Only barefoot.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, lads. That was fascinating insights. And if no further questions, I don't want to hold people any further back from the week, but expect people to try one thing out at lunch this today. Next week is the final in this series, and it's focused on exercise. The video and slides from today will be uploaded to the ICBE website later today/tomorrow. And finally, many thanks to everyone who attended today, and to Declan and Jason for those wonderful insights. I know we're hitting on an absolute gusher in terms of extra insights, but we only have so much time left that we can dedicate it to it. So thank you very much for those.
Brilliant.
And look forward to seeing everyone next Monday at 9 o'clock.
Fantastic. And make sure you bring your tracksuits with you.
See ya.
Brilliant.
See you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.